Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 1 of the WTF cast. It isn't what you think it is. The World Taekwondo Federation, established in 1973, almost like me, didn't change their name until 2017 to avoid the negative connotations of the acronym associated with the common internet slang. WTF, what the... When I was young, LOL was used for lots of love. And I'm sure you've heard the urban myth text exchange from a few years ago between a mother and a daughter, where the former texts, "Your auntie has died, lol," and her girl freaks out. Different times, different meanings, but LOL at various moments in my life has meant laugh out loud or laughing out loud, League of Legends, little old lady, lots of laughs, labor of love, loads of love, loss of life for insurance companies. Which other acronyms have either changed meaning or have completely different meanings? How about XO? XO can either be love and kisses, or in the military, an executive officer. Not exactly the same thing. POV, POV, was at some time a privately owned vehicle, but now it means point of view. WTF in its modern, profane version was first noted in a 1985 Usenet post called Ramblings, where somebody called J. Fields wrote, "Upon booting, I received a message saying, please insert Wordmaster." And J. Fields replied, "I asked myself, W.T.F. You know exactly what he meant. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast has as its central mission to seize those three letters and to make them mean or signify absolutely whatever we want them to be. It could be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, could be weasels, taste fries, or taste funny, that would have been better. Could be weakened tonsil fever. Absolutely anything goes as long as we change its meaning, because why not? We can make any acronym mean whatever we want. In every episode, we, and when I say we, it's you and me, not the royal we, I wouldn't presume, will be joined by somebody with a really good WTF story, or kind of niche hobby or interesting skill or job, but basically fascinating individuals that I've been very, very lucky to interview, who are either famous in their own kind of area or world, or who should be. So thanks for joining us, and welcome to this episode. For our first guest today, and I actually hope that I haven't set the bar too high, we're going to welcome somebody who I have known for a long time. Very, 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 very nice guy, Stuart McAlister. I met him at the beginning of the 2000s, beginning of the millennium, possibly at the end of the last millennium. That's how old we are. In Paris, when I used to play a bit of music in Irish pubs, and I think he came to watch, or he came and was forced to at least hear what I was doing. And he was introduced to me as a BBC cameraman, which, as you can imagine, left me basically starstruck. You know, this guy was the nomenclatura of all of the people that I knew in Paris at that time. Bit of his CV, just so that you see what I'm talking about. Among other things, worked on Monty Python's Meaning of Life, worked on the Noel Edmonds Late Breakfast Show, worked on Wogan, was involved in the Queen Live Magic show at Wembley Stadium, worked for Sky News, was in Bosnia in 1993, covered Nelson Mandela's election victory in 1995. He was in Paris on the day that Princess Diana's car crashed, and he was on the scene an hour later, covered the 1998 World Cup, which was in France, of course. CNN sent him to Kosovo. It goes on and on and on. He's recently written a book, which you should definitely read, because it's basically incredible. It's called 60-Year Overnight Sensation, and I will put a link under this first podcast so that you can have a look and get hold of it yourself, and also a link to his personal website. So here we go, Stuart McAlister, guest number 1.
Recording in progress.
Stuart McAlister, everybody who comes on here is interesting, but your story is just frankly ridiculous.
You mean uninteresting?
No, it is ridiculous. What was the title we chose? What was the WTF
I think the title, the WTF we chose was Westminster to Footie.
Footie, all right.
As in football, not the game you normally play with your amour under the table at dinner.
Now, I was pouring through your curriculum vitae and looking at your website, and I've read the book that we'll talk about in a bit as well. There's so much, I don't know where to start. So let's start with one simple question. David Bowie's chewing gum.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I worked for many years as a cameraman in television. And I lived in France for 20 years, as you know, Jim.
That's right.
And I received a call from ABC Australia, and they were flying a journalist and their own cameraman over to Paris to interview David Bowie, and they needed a second camera. Mm-hmm. And in those situations, I would have assumed that ABC Australia, their cameraman would have been filming Bowie, and I'd be filming the journalist. I found myself at 7 o'clock one morning, a little bijou hotel just off Place Vendôme, Place de la Concorde, mm-hmm. A lovely little side street, and it's a beautiful boutique hotel. And we were welcomed by the manager, the duty manager, who said, "You can set up in this room here." So I met up with the other crew, and I brought lights, tripod, camera, this, that, and the other. We introduced ourselves, went into this room and started setting up. It then became quite plain that I was going to be filming Bowie and the ABC cameraman was going to be filming his journalist. And they'd flown all the way from Australia for this. So we got ready within about an hour or so. So it was about 8:30. And Bowie's road manager, what have you, assistant, came downstairs and said, "Are you ready?" And we said, "Yes, we put the lighting up and the cameras are set. Everything's ready to go. Bring the great man down." And of course, Bowie had been performing at the Stade de France the night before. And you would imagine that someone who'd been performing up until 10:30, 11 o'clock on stage wouldn't have agreed to sort of like an 8:45 interview, but he did. So we set up, and the great man comes downstairs with a cup of coffee. And he was a lot smaller than I imagined. And I just took one look at him, and I just had this rush of, this man is a god.
David Bowie.
I've met hundreds of celebrities.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
But the thing is, this man was incredible. He just took my breath away. And the rest of them, they disappeared into the.
So all the camera work is shaky because you were having.
Oh, but it's just the chance of meeting Bowie. So he came in, and of course, I'm sitting with my back to a fireplace. My camera's pointing at him. The journalist is sitting next to me, and opposite him is his cameraman. Bowie puts his coffee down, looks at me, smiles, and I'm framing up on him. And he's chewing gum. And the guy from ABC Australia said, "You know, mate, probably not a good idea if you're chewing gum." That's my Australian accent, by the way. Probably not a good idea, mate, if you're chewing gum during the interview. So Bowie took the chewing gum out of his mouth, and he's looking around for somewhere to put it. And he takes a look at me, and he sees behind me is a fireplace.
Right.
So he looks me square in the eyes, and he just flicks his head over to one side, which is the international sign for "get out of the way." So I just tilted my head, and he threw this chewing gum, and it went whistling past me and landed into the fireplace, which was an extraordinary shot.
I thought you were going to say he gave you the chewing gum, or
well, what
stuck to your shoulder or something.
What I should have done, I should have reached behind me into the fireplace, nicked it, and stuck it up.
Put it in under enamel or something.
There you go.
I was reading a couple of testimonies that you wrote on Facebook about people who died. I think you said nice things about Chirac, for example, and possibly Aznavour. Was that another one?
The child Aznavour, yeah.
That's right. And you say that, apart from Bowie, have you met anybody who's famous where you blocked completely and you didn't know what to say, or you were so impressed, or do they always end up being a bit smaller than you expect?
Bill Clinton.
Oh.
Of course, being freelance.
Epstein Island.
Me?
No, I didn't say it.
And that laundry bill. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
So, being a freelance cameraman, you get to work for absolutely everybody. And CNN, I was on their books for about 7 years. Clinton was coming to Cologne, Germany, for a G5 or a G6, whatever it was.
Mhm.
And CNN had organized an interview with Clinton, and they were bringing the White House crew. So if you're based in Washington and you are part of the White House crew, and there's lots of people who travel with the White House crew, you travel on Air Force One at the back. Wherever the president goes, you follow the president. So if it's abroad, you go with the president. Anyway, they were bringing a huge team of people, and I was in Paris with the Paris cameraman and a couple of others, and they said, right, you're going to Cologne to bolster the CNN team. Flown out to Cologne, and we spent the whole day setting up in this library. And there were men in the dark suits with the sunglasses wandering about all over the place. And after it was 5 cameras, and after we'd set it all up, we were told that we would put into a sterile room while they brought the dogs in and they checked for bombs and other bits and pieces. And then we were let back in again, and we couldn't move from that room. We could go to the toilet, but we couldn't move from that room. Interview time came closer and closer. The door opened, and all these guys with sunglasses and dark suits came in. And as they opened up, as the sea of suits opened up, Clinton walked out in the middle. And I thought, wow, this guy's got presence. Now, this was a couple of months after the Monica Lewinsky business.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Right. He comes in the room. He's introduced to everybody. The men in suits disappear into the woodwork, and we don't see them for a while. He sits down, does this interview with Wolf Blitzer. I think Wolf is still working for CNN. And then after the interview, there's the official White House photo. So the president, we're all lined up, and there's someone there cracking the whip, going, you stand here, you stand here. There's a whole line of us. I thought, Christ, and I'm wearing jeans. I thought, I get to meet the president. This is a bonus. And he works his way down the line, shaking everybody by the hand and asking them a question to which they answer.
What do you
My brain shuts down. If this is going to happen, if the president of the United States is going to ask me a question, what the hell am I going to say?
Go on.
I have no idea. I just went in a meltdown. And I'm a professional cameraman, but and he worked his way down the line, and he came towards. He stood in front of me, held his hand out, and the shaking. Oh my God! I couldn't control the shaking. And I held my hand out, and he's got a really good handshake. Now, you can tell a lot about someone from their handshake.
Very firm.
I've been someone who's always given a firm handshake. And so we're trying to out-squeeze each other, which was quite amusing. But no, a really good handshake. And he looked me right in the eye. And he said, thank you very much indeed for coming and doing this interview. I really appreciate it. And I went, blah, 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 blah. No, I didn't. I went, I said, absolute pleasure. It's been great fun meeting you. And he said, oh, you're a Brit. I said, yeah, I live in Paris, and I was shipped over just to do this. And he was still holding me. We were still shaking hands, and with his left hand, he tapped me on the right shoulder.
Right.
Shoulder? Yes, tapped me on the right shoulder with his left hand. He said, thank you very much for making the effort. It's been an absolute joy coming to talk to everyone today. And with that, he let go of my hand and moved on to the next person.
And you never washed it again?
I don't know. Jim, don't spoil a good thought.
Oh, sorry.
Spoiler. So the thing is, his eyes never left mine for the entire time. He knew exactly how to schmooze. And it was an extraordinary meeting. And
this kind of intense sincerity as well.
There was, yeah. This man he'd got charisma oozing out of his. He'd got charisma oozing out of every pore.
Every pore. Thank you for correcting that.
Now, yeah, but he was one person, and I just melted.
We're definitely going to speak again, because there's enough for the whole series, whole season of podcasts talking to you.
God, no,
let's at least give lip service to the WTF. So Westminster, tell us the beginning. Why Westminster? What happened in Westminster?
I have been working in music videos, conferences, music videos, all sorts of non-broadcast television stuff. And it had come to an Easter weekend, And a friend of mine rang me up and he said, there's a company up in Westminster who might need someone like you. They need a cameraman over the bank holiday weekend. Can you help out? And I went, yeah, sure. I mean, at that age, I was going, yeah, sure to everything.
I think we still are.
Probably. So I went up to Westminster because there was a special court sitting. It was the Guinness trial.
Oh, yeah, right.
Where the bosses of Guinness had been massaging the
book in the books,
the share numbers or how much the company was worth. I forget exactly what it was. It was 1990, I think it was. And so I went up and I met the team on duty, and they said we needed to go down to Southwark Crown Court and shoot some footage of people coming in and out. The not the guilty party, what do you call them? The defendants going in and out.
Yeah.
Just a general sort of scene of what's going on. And I'd never shot news in my life. So I just started watching. I jumped in a cab, went down. I just started watching people and doing whatever they did. So after about 2 hours, I was told I need to be back at the studio by X time. Jumped in a cab, went back, handed the tape in. They took one look at it, and basically it was crap. It was absolute crap. And I thought I'd done a good job. But of course, I'd been shooting music videos and conferences, stuff like that. So I had no idea. However, they looked at me and they went, you know what? We think you've got potential. Can you come back tomorrow? And I went, yeah, sure. And they gave me my break in television.
That's nice.
And in fact, the guy who gave me that break in television died at the end of last year, and I went to his funeral.
Oh, so what you said it was crap what you did. What was the potential that he saw in it?
I was enthusiastic.
Right, you still are.
I think so. I was keen to learn.
You can feel it. Yeah.
Yes, I was keen to learn, and they didn't have anyone else. So,
they didn't have. I thought you said I didn't have any whales. They didn't have anyone else. I'm going deaf. Sorry.
No, it was just we think you can do something here, and I stayed with that company 2.5 years.
Brilliant. So that's the Westminster and the Footie, the Footie or Footsie, because both would have been appropriate.
Indeed.
The Footie.
I was just looking for
2 minutes, so give us a taster.
I was looking for something to do 2 or 3 years ago. I answered an advert on Facebook because they was looking for a photographer down at my local football club.
That's Dorking, yeah.
Dorking Wanderers.
Wanderers.
I went down. I sent the guy my CV and a portfolio, and he wrote back and he said, "You know what? I think you should be interviewing us." I said, "That's very kind of you." And so I started taking football photographs, and the club was getting better and better and better because they were trying to get into the National League.
That's right.
Which they did 18 months ago. I just started taking photographs down there. I was thoroughly enjoying it. And I bought myself a little bit more equipment because I'd been taking pro photographs in France to supplement my income. I also went into news photography. So off I went down to Dorking, and I've been there now 2.5 years. And at the end of last season, the photographer who recruited me said, "That's it, I've had enough." And he'd been there 5 years.
So now it's just you.
And they just offered me the position. And yeah,
right.
now it's just me.
Bit of a difficult season. Last year was quite good. They were mid-table, but now they're just above the relegation zone, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got
a lot of injuries. If we could just stay above the relegation zone.
Stuart McAlister, can we promise each other to have another one of these conversations, because this just doesn't do it justice. But let me just say, and then you can hold it up. Oh, nice mug with rude words on it. You just killed the whole thing. I had a really rude mug this morning in the class as well. All of the stories that you've got to tell, you put in a book which is called The 60-Year Overnight Sensation. We can see it on the screen here. If you can't see it on the screen, I'm going to put a link under the video and under the audio. It's on Amazon. It's about £14, very reasonable.
Well,
for such a huge story.
Yeah, but Prince Harry's book's only £14. So,
Yeah, he's done a lot less.
Everything I put in my book is the truth.
You should have kept David Bowie's chewing gum, though.
Oh, well.
Next time, I'll ask you about Evita, Monty Python, and
Oh, my God.
CNN.
Oh, there's so much to go through.
So much teasing. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
And we're definitely going to do this again.
Indeed.
Many thanks to Stuart McAlister for being our first guest. We'll be back hopefully in a week. And I think this time we'll be traveling to the United States of America. So stay with us again. Thank you for joining us. And I'll speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.